Well, on the show with me is the founder and senior pastor of Dunamis Gospel Church International, and he's an overseer for many people around the world. Dr. Paul Enenche, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again, you are. God
and
bless.
it's such a pleasure to ride in the time capsule with you as you took us back to the 50s with your mum and then the 70s with you. But let's come to the now, because I had the opportunity of sitting in your church service. I'd heard much about it. I'd heard the throngs of people that flow through. I'd heard of the dome that you're building, 70,000 seater dome. And so I sat in the service, wanted to see myself. And I came to service number 5
That's right.
and 6.
That's right.
And every Sunday, just in your branch, you do 6 services. And I thought, my Lord, I'm counting people like hands. When did that start for you, Dr. Paul?
I think what happened, I would date back to like 6 years ago. We're just running 3 services.
And that's bad enough by itself, because in London, you're running 1 service, you're doing good. Now you're running 3 services.
Yeah, and those weren't fully filled services though. We had the first service was filled to under the gallery, the second was filled completely, and then the third was halfway filled. And I was traveling to London, England, and then was in the aircraft and received the voice of God telling me to start 5 services. At that time, I had been trusting God. We're like probably 7,000 people.
So this instruction wouldn't have made logical sense?
No sense at all. Wow. No sense.
But you went ahead.
I went ahead and then announced the next Sunday we're having 5 services of grace. And you couldn't believe what happened. The 5 services were filled to the gallery the first Sunday, except the last service that was filled till under the gallery. And I was shocked. And the people were shocked.
But let me ask you though, because much of the time when people are talking about Paul Enenche, they talk about the crowds, they talk about the great miracles, which are wonderful. But I wonder if there's sometimes we're missing something. What are some of the social, you might call it social justice or community things that the church does that's touching lives that you're free to talk about?
We've had God helped us in so many ways. Let me start from the ministration to the widows and orphans. Again, about the same time I was traveling to the UK, I saw in a vision in the aircraft, a widow, a woman, was speaking to another one. And she said, the schools are about to resume and I don't have money to send my children to school. And right from that revelation, God ministered to me and to go and pick up all the widows that are not able to send their children to school. So I returned back from that trip and announced in the church, and the widows came. We screened to find out the genuine cases, and then we began immediately and sent scores of children to school. We spent millions in Nigerian currency every single term and every single session.
And that still goes on now?
It goes on probably till Jesus comes. And then we also began to empower the widows. We have a Women of Destiny group. We call them the Wings group. And we empower them, teach them trade, and then empower them financially to start. And many of them are doing very well.
I really want to get to a point that I know most people are intrigued about, because one of the hallmarks of Paul Enenche's ministry is signs and wonders. And it happens all the time. Do you ever see some that happen that shock you yourself? Because, I mean, you've been doing this for decades now.
Yes, we've seen a couple. I remember a young prostitute testified not too long ago. She had lived a prostitutious life all her life. And one day she had an appointment with one of her customers and took her to a hotel. And right in that hotel, they were watching the television, and then we were preaching.
Oh, Lord, they had the wrong channel on.
The wrong channel on. And the power of God hit this lady, and she left immediately from the hotel, returned back home, and traced the church, came to church, and gave her life to Christ. And right now, she's been empowered financially, and she's doing business. I saw a young man who had accident the same day, probably had cervical, whatever, but she came to church with a neck collar. Unknown to me, the accident was fresh, and that same day, She came with a sister who brought her. I never knew. If I had known that the accident was the same day and that probably it will damage anything if we didn't do well, I wouldn't have dared it. But
that's being honest there.
that's right. But I went straight and I said, I'm going to pray for you. He said, go ahead, take off the collar. And he was still watching me. And I prayed for him, asked him to move the neck. He couldn't move the neck. He just tried with pain and it wasn't moving. I prayed again and prayed the third time. And then he moved the neck left, right, and the whole church went wild. Now, it was after that happened that we knew what had happened. That same day, coincidentally, a doctor from Canada was in the church. And we called him forth and we said, Doctor, what had just happened? And he told me, Pastor, if that miracle didn't work, that man would be paralyzed for life. So that was amazing.
Wow. One final thing, the miracles are countless. The crowds are countless. The many reports are countless. At the end of the day, when you're in the room by yourself, when they're all gone, what is the thing that means the most to you, that gives you the most peace, Dr. Paul Enenche?
The most important thing to me is whether I have done the will of God and to return back to his presence, which is the greatest asset of my personal life and ministry, and to be sure that I'm on course with him, and to be sure that I would hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant at the end. Like I said at the beginning, it's an incurable addiction and passion for God. So I try to rekindle that. And once that atmosphere is created, I tell people, I said, at times coming out from his presence is like a distraction compared to what I experience with it.